Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things. And guys, it is very good to have you guys joining me here today on this Thursday. Now, normally, you guys know Thursday is, as Aaron Cummings calls it, No Pants Thursdays, and Aaron Cummings is normally here. However, Aaron got a hold of me last night, and because she is an actress, she had to go to one of the studios today for some big audition, whatever. But don't worry, if you're looking for your Aaron fix, Aaron is instead going to join me and Robert on tomorrow's show. So tomorrow will be a full house with me, Robert, and Aaron. And today, it's just you and me talking about our favorite things in the world. It's good to have you guys here. And by the way, a little bit of housekeeping, just so you guys know, in case you can't be in front of a YouTube, channel watching the John Campea Show, the good news is there's an audio-only version of the show in the form of the John Campea Show podcast version, which you can go and get on your favorite podcasting app of choice. Just go to it and search for the John Campea Show podcast, and you should be able to find it no problem. And that way, the show will be there when you need it. And guys, I'm going to tell you what, it's a good day. It's a good day, brothers and sisters in film fandom. Yea, verily, I say unto you, it is game day. It's Shang-Chi day today. The wait is over. Everybody gets to go and see Shang-Chi today, provided you're in a place in the world where that's even possible for you to do it. But for most of us, today is Shang-Chi day. It is the day we can go and see it again. I and Ann are going to go over to the Tyler Galleria in Riverside tonight to go and see my fourth screening of Shang-Chi, and I just cannot wait to watch it again. I'm still, Ann and I are going to a later showing tonight, but I'm still considering going to a 6 o'clock show and to a 9 o'clock show, but whatever, we'll just have to wait and see. But the day's here. For those of you who've been waiting to see this film, get out and see it. I'm not expecting, and you know what, I think tickets are going to be available. You guys know, despite how good this movie is, you guys know I don't believe it's going to do all that great at the box office. We've spoken over the weeks about all the different reasons and all the different things working against Shang-Chi having a really big box office. So the good news for you is, if you're one of those people that thinks, I can't go opening weekend because the theater's going to be it's going to be sold out or whatever, it probably won't be, which is unfortunate, but it probably won't be sold out. So you can go and get your tickets tonight to go and see Shang-Chi, because that's what I'm doing, and I know a bunch of you guys are going to be doing it as well, and I hope you guys do enjoy. We're going to talk about Shang-Chi a little bit later in the show, and by the way, I'm going to let you guys know that we do break the show into two parts. The first half of the show, we take some predetermined topics, and then in the second half of the show, we take your live comments and questions. But we're going to dive right into our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. See, you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you feel needs to be its own main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into our topics, shall we? And we're going to start things off today here with a bit of an off the top, because something just dropped this morning. We've been talking for a while about a very high profile Netflix original movie that's been coming, starring three of the biggest stars in the world, literally the two biggest movie stars in the world, and then another huge star as well. We've got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, good Canadian kid, my favorite movie star right now, and Gal Gadot, starring in the new Netflix film, Red Notice. And we've been talking about Red Notice, it feels like, for well over a year now, because this is a pretty high profile, stacked cast with a lot of people in it, all that type of stuff. And we've been getting little glimpses. They've dropped some teaser images. We've seen like 2 or 3 second little things happening. But today they actually dropped the first main trailer. Now, I'm going to let you guys know, I am probably pretty automatically predisposed to liking this for a couple of reasons. It's an action film. I am a sucker for action films. You guys know this. Show me some good action, and you're 9/10 of the way of getting me on board with your film. Number two, This thing has Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is one of my favorite movie stars in the world. Is he the greatest actor in the world? Is he Russell Crowe? No. But he exudes a charm and charisma on screen and personality on screen that just makes him very entertaining to watch. Very entertaining to watch. And I love watching movies with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. On top of that, you have the aforementioned, the good Canadian kid, Ryan Reynolds, who's, of course, my favorite movie star in the world. I just love it. And right now, he's got Free Guy in theaters. Guys, if you have not seen Free Guy, you must go watch Free Guy. It is thoroughly entertaining, wonderful little film. And they've already greenlit a sequel, so I'm going to be very much looking forward to that. So this thing has a lot going for it that would predispose me to liking it. So did I love the trailer? No. No, I didn't. I put out a tweet this morning. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it or not, and I don't even know if you care. Let me see if I can bring this. I put up a tweet this morning where I basically said this. I said the following. I said, Shang-Chi. Oh no, that's the Shang-Chi thing. There was something. Oh yeah, there it is. That's the one I was looking for. So wait, you're telling me that the new Red Notice trailer wasn't just Hobbs and Shaw 2? Really? You could have fooled me. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Ryan Reynolds' characters just look like they play the exact same characters from Hobbs and Shaw, and they have the exact same dynamic and chemistry between them as they do in Hobbs and Shaw. Are you sure this is not just Hobbs and Shaw 2? Even at the end of the trailer, you got Gal Gadot's thing saying, "Goodbye, Agent," and I fully expect her to say Agent Hobbs because that's who he is, but she didn't. She said, "Goodbye, Agent," whatever his name is in this. Who cares what his name in this? You had the big stereotypical big explosion behind him as he flies through the air like this. You had the quippy one-liners. Look, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the other Ryan Reynolds straight-to-Netflix movie that was directed by Michael Bay called Red Notice. Not Red Notice, Six Underground. Do you guys remember that one? That looked great to me. I thought the trailers looked thrilling. I thought the action looked like it would be on point. Of course, Ryan Reynolds is my favorite movie star in the world. And Six Underground was pretty piss poor. It was a pretty bad movie. No fault of Ryan Reynolds. He did what he could. The other cast did what they could. But, you know, there's only so much actors can do to change a bad movie into a good movie. And I'm watching this trailer and I just started to get those same vibes. It's a Netflix original, and Netflix original movies just suck big piles of donkey shit. Anyway, somebody turned that into a t-shirt. It's a Netflix original, and I'm watching this and I'm saying, okay, you're showing some flashes of action. Some of it was like brutally green screened, which you could just, green screen is great. Green screen lets filmmakers do a lot of magic, but, you know, do it right. And it just felt like Hobbs and Shaw 2. So look, trailers and movies are two different things, right? We all know this. Trailers and movies are two different things. We have all seen many, many, many fantastic trailers to terrible movies. We've all seen many terrible trailers to what ended up to be fantastic movies. Maybe Red Notice can be that fantastic movie with a bad trailer. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Like I said, you got some of my favorite movie stars in the world. This is a kind of movie that is right up my alley. But I'd be lying to you if I told you, you know, with Dwayne and Ryan being two of my favorites, I want to sit here and say, yay, this looks great. You know I want to say that. You know I want to say that. But I've got to be honest. And if I'm going to be honest, this doesn't look any good. I didn't like the trailer at all. It has its moments. But every single frame was filled with cliche. Like every single frame had cliche. There was, I don't expect every new action film to be, you know, overloaded with originality. Obviously not, right? I don't expect that from just a good, decent, fun little action film. But give me an element. Give me a grain of sand. Give me a little something that makes this project look different from other projects that have the exact same feel. And I didn't find that little grain in Red Notice. But again, that doesn't mean the movie's not going to be great. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe this will be the one Netflix movie out of 1,000 that actually ends up any good. But I can't lie to you guys. Despite the fact that it's got my favorite guys in it, I can't lie to you and say that I like this trailer. I didn't like it. I wanted to yawn. So here's hoping this is going to end up being one of those great movies with a bad trailer. We've seen lots of them. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. Have you had a chance to see this new first trailer for Red Notice? We've been waiting for this for a long time. If so, what did you think of it? Maybe you thought it was great. Maybe you think it looks thrilling and exciting and has all those Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson-isms and Ryan Reynolds-isms that are in it that you're looking for, and this trailer just made you more excited. That's awesome if it did. Or maybe you're like me, where you were like kind of looking forward to this, but then you watch this trailer, it's like, boy, the term formulaic was made for trailers like this. I don't know. Anyway, guys, how do you feel about it? Jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's get into our next topic here today. And our next topic today gets submitted to us by our viewer, Thomas Riggle. And Thomas Riggle writes, "Hey, John and Aaron. I had to do a little bit, and obviously Aaron's not here today, unfortunately. I had to do a little bit of a double take when I first read the headline, but apparently Shang-Chi is set to break the all-time Labor Day weekend box office record, even pre-pandemic. That is currently held by the Halloween remake at a $30 million opening. The current projection is that Shang-Chi will make 45 to 50 million opening weekend. How significant is this for the new Marvel movie?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, like we said off the top, it's Shang-Chi Day. It's game. I'm just so excited. You guys know me. Every day that I wake up knowing I'm going to the movie theater that day is a good day for me. I'm smiling all day, but it's a especially happy one for me because you know I love this movie. I can't wait to go back and see it again. This is going to be my 4th time seeing it, and I'm still as excited about seeing it as I was for my 2nd and 3rd viewings of it. Can't wait to watch this thing again. And yeah, you're right. This was a little bit of information that even I did not have my eyes on, which is that with a $45 to $50 million opening, and again, we have been through all the reasons I have said to you guys for weeks now why Shang-Chi is going to have a struggle at the box office, right? Just to recap, it's, we've obviously the big thing is the pandemic, which has made movies like Top Gun and Mission Impossible run away to 2022. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But number one, you got the pandemic, which is now far worse than it was with the Delta variant spikes than it was when Fast 9 or Black Widow came out. So it's going to be working against that. Number two, it's got no big name stars in it. Yes, if you're from China, you probably know the name Tony Leung, but the reality is that the biggest name in this movie, unlike some other MCU movies that have Benedict Cumberbatch, or has Chris Evans, or has Robert Downey Jr., or has Chris Hemsworth, or has Scarlett Johansson, the biggest name in this movie is Awkwafina, who is not a nobody, but that's your big name. So this is a movie that's working against a pandemic. It's got no big name recognizable stars. It's to a character most average movie viewers have never even heard of. Most average movie viewers have never even heard of Shang-Chi, which is understandable. It's a smaller character and all that kind of stuff. On top of all that, it has not been given your traditional MCU marketing budget. On top of all that, you've got Kevin Feige, who's been giving all the attention. The last 6 months, Kevin Feige's just been given all the attention to Eternals. Whenever Kevin Feige's been talking, it's been Eternals this, Eternals that, Eternals this, Eternals that. Everything's been about Eternals. And I don't blame him for that. He's very excited about Eternals, obviously, so that's great. But, you know, he's obviously overlooked Black Widow a bit, and he's overlooking Shang-Chi a bit. And maybe Eternals is just that good. So whatever. So you've got this long laundry list of things that, for me, why I've been saying the last few weeks, as good as Shang-Chi is, this is a movie that has a very, very big uphill battle to fight when it comes to box office and getting the amount of people out to it that it deserves to have come out and watch it. With all that being understood, it was a little bit of a surprise to see that Shang-Chi right now is set not just to break a pandemic era weekend box office record. It is set to break, if it comes in at 45, like I've been saying I think it will, to break the all-time Labor Day weekend box office record. This comes to us from the folks over at Screen Rant who write, as with any big budget Marvel release, there is a great deal of hype surrounding Shang-Chi's release. Now, Deadline is reporting that the film is predicted to earn around $45 to $50 million in its opening weekend. And you guys know I've been saying 45 for a while, which would break their record for the highest earning film over a Labor Day weekend. Deadline also claims that some are predicting an even higher turnover for the superhero film. Still, considering how much the box office can fluctuate at the moment, it's hard to make an accurate prediction, so it's better to be conservative. So, yeah, the previous record for the Labor Day weekend has been the Halloween remake, making $30 million. That has got to be one of the most unimpressive opening weekend box office records in history. Right? It's not the all-time box office. It's the all-time Labor Day box office record. And so that sounds great. It sounds great to say Shang-Chi is going to break an all-time record. And it is. That's true. And that sounds great. Until you stop to consider that the previous record was $30 million. I mean, and that's fine. That's fine. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take any little marketing gimmick that Shang-Chi can attach to its name right now. And if that is like saying, I mean, that's like saying, I don't know, saying you're about to break the all-time Labor Day weekend box office record is kind of like saying you are the world's deadliest martial artist out of any kindergarten students in the world. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. So again, I still believe Shang-Chi is going to struggle at the box office. I do. It's going to be like, well, it's going to be like Suicide Squad, a movie that frankly deserves much, 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 much better. But it is what it is. The reality is the reality. And I hope Deadline is right. Deadline is saying that with the surge in the word of mouth and buzz and social media postings that it could exceed $55, $60 million. And I hope it does. I really do. I really, really hope it does. But I'm still sticking around that $45 million range. I think it'll be a little bit of a hard time. But hey, if that makes it the all-time biggest Labor Day weekend box office in history, take it. Take that crown, Shang-Chi. Take that crown. And you wear that crown with pride, because I don't think it's going to have a lot of other box office numbers that it's going to get to hoot and holler about, but it is a great, guys, honestly, this movie's great. It's great. Go and see it. You may not, again, I've been saying this a lot lately. You may not like it as much as I do because I'm over the moon about it. Like not a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time sort of thing, but I am over the moon about this movie. You may or may not feel as good about it as I do, but I feel very confident, very, very confident that you will at the least enjoy yourself. And what more can you ask for? So you may not walk out of this movie like me going, God, I can't wait to watch this 5 more times. That might not be you, and that's totally fine. But I feel very, very confident that you're at least going to walk out with a smile on your face going, yeah, that was good. I really feel good about that. So whatever it is you guys are doing, get on out and watch it. Go check it out. Go watch this film. Go enjoy yourself. And because I don't think I don't think the theaters are going to be packed. I don't think the theaters are going to be packed. So you should have a seat waiting for you. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about the fact that Shang-Chi, which is opening today in theaters near you, hopefully, is set to break the all-time Labor Day weekend box office record, even if it's not a very impressive record? Is that a good thing? Is that something they should kind of, boast about? Maybe it's something that should be ignored. I don't know. However you guys are feeling about it, jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into our final main topic here today, shall we? And our final main topic today gets submitted to us by Roger Andre Vihansen, who writes, "So, it's official. Top Gun and Mission Impossible are delayed. According to Deadline, Top Gun is taking over Mission Impossible's original release date of May 27th, 2022, and Mission Impossible is being pushed to September 30th, 2022. Is this just the beginning of several other movies also being delayed? What are your thoughts? And keep on the filthy." All right, man. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, look, it came out during the second half of the show yesterday. This news dropped, and I decided not to talk about it on the show yesterday because I thought we'll save this until we have to talk about it properly as a main topic here on the show. So you guys know that I just recently got back from Las Vegas. I went to CinemaCon in Las Vegas. Great event. Tip of the hat and a big round of applause to all the folks at NATO who put on CinemaCon under very, very difficult circumstances, and they put on a great show. So big tip of the hat to all the people at NATO for putting that show on. It was fantastic. Anyway, one of the big highlights, and there were many highlights at CinemaCon, from a surprise full screening of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is awesome. Ghostbusters Afterlife was really fun. I'm going to talk to you guys. I'll do a full review of it a little bit later, but Ghostbusters Afterlife was a lot of fun. A full screening of Clifford the Big Red Dog, which I skipped out on. They showed us like 10 minutes of James Bond, No Time to Die, like a full 10-minute clip of it, which was incredible. Anyway, there's a lot of great stuff. But two of the highlights were this. They showed us the opening 13 minutes of Top Gun Maverick. The opening 13 minutes for Top Gun Maverick. So right from the opening credits, right through to the end of the first big major sequence. So a full 13 minutes of the film. And it was amazing. It was absolutely, and listen, that's coming from a guy that, you know, I've been saying for a while that, yeah, I'm looking forward to Top Gun 2, but it's kind of too little too late and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I take it all back. After watching that first 13 minutes, and then they showed us a new trailer for it, and then they showed us a little bit more footage, Top Gun Maverick looks insane. It looks really great. So all those things I was saying before about this movie's a little bit too little too late, I got to eat my words, because I probably saw altogether between the trailers, the extra footage, and the opening 13 minutes, they probably showed us about 20 minutes of the movie. And it just looks fantastic. Can't wait to watch it. They also showed us a whole bunch of stuff of Mission Impossible 7. And it also looks insane and fantastic. But these films have been delayed. This comes to us from the folks at Deadline, who write the following. After Paramount consulted with experts and their own global team, they decided to move the movies given the current condition of COVID and its Delta variant around the world. The outlook for the global theater attendance is expected to be much better next year, which is the opportune time to maximize box office potential and overall makes the most business sense for the studio's movies. Recently, Paramount moved Clifford the Big Red Dog out of the fall and will redate it sometime in the future. All right. So, yeah, they had to move this thing. We were getting Top Gun here pretty soon. And now it's all the way back in May. By the way, I was talking to a buddy of mine on the phone yesterday, and we were reminiscing. Wrap your heads around this. We were reminiscing being at not CinemaCon, being at Comic-Con in 2019 when Tom Cruise came out on stage. And there's a clip of this in my movie, by the way, my movie called Movie Trailers, A Love Story, which you can go and get on Amazon if you want to go watch that. And you should. It's fantastic. Greatest documentary of all time. I'm sure somebody said that somewhere. Anyway, we've got a clip of this in my movie where Tom Cruise comes out on stage in 2019 at Comic-Con to introduce the trailer for Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick. By the time this movie comes out, it will be 3 years It'll be 3 years from when they debuted the trailer to Top Gun 2. It will be 3 years from when the movie actually comes out and hits theaters. So and my buddy was saying, I can't remember that ever happening before. And I said, well, New Mutants was probably one of those. I think there might have been 3.5 or 4 years between when the first New Mutants trailer hit to when the movie finally eventually came out. I can't remember the exact exactness of that, but still, seriously, think about that. 3 years from when they introduced the trailer to when this movie is finally going to come out. And by the way, our friend Anton Riley sends in like a $20 super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Anton. I appreciate that, man, very much. Anyway, look, am I disappointed that we now have to wait even longer? Because now we've got to wait, what are we in now? We're in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. We got 8 months. We got to wait 8 more months for Top Gun 2. And over a year for Mission Impossible 7. It sucks. Am I disappointed as a movie fan? Absolutely I am. I'm absolutely disappointed as a movie fan. Do I understand? Do I understand the move? I do. I understand. Because after watching the footage, if I had not seen the Top Gun footage, maybe I would say they needed to just keep it where it is. But after watching the footage to Top Gun, I now recognize this is a movie that could potentially be an $800 million film. Like 800, 850. Hell, maybe we even have to toy with the idea that it could be a contender to join the $1 billion club. This is a truly gigantic box office potential movie. Far bigger than I thought it would be. Far bigger than I thought it would be. And Mission Impossible is Mission Impossible. It just looks like it's getting bigger and crazier. And it also is a movie that carries with it the potential of being an $800+ million, maybe even flirting with the $1 billion club kind of movie. With those types of numbers at play, I understand the studio's decision to say, you know what, let's then put this movie out when we think it can make its most money. And that is not right now with the variant going on. Now, I still think it's a good move for most movies to stay where they are right now. And maybe if I was in charge at Paramount, maybe I would say keep it where it is. But I totally understand the decision. I do. I mean, I get it. So the other question that comes up with movies like Top Gun and Mission Impossible moving, and again, guys, I can't wait for you guys to see, well, for me to see the rest of Top Gun, but I can't wait for you guys even just to see what I saw of Top Gun. It is bonkers good, like really, really bonkers good. So the question becomes, if Top Gun can move, and if Mission Impossible can move, are these but the first dominoes to fall in other major movies moving? And I'll say this, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Unless things take a turn for the worse, which who knows, maybe they can, maybe they will, I don't know. But it seems like Sony is pretty committed to keeping Venom where it is, because there was a rumor floating around that Venom was going to get pushed to 2022, but Sony said, no, we're keeping it where it is. Okay. Sony also seems pretty committed to keeping Spider-Man No Way Home where it is. So I don't think Sony is looking at moving Spider-Man No Way Home. Again, things could change for the better or change for the worse, but which could change things. But as of right now, Sony seems pretty committed to keeping Spider-Man No Way Home where it is. It looks like it looks like there's a big commitment to keeping James Bond where it is. They just put out their final trailer with the date. What was it? October 8th? Is that the date, guys? October 8th for James Bond? I think it is. But with the date baked into the trailer, they didn't have to do that. but they decided to really plant their flag and tell the world James Bond is coming out October 8th. That's just like a month away, guys. That's just like a month away. So I don't think we're going to see. Now, there could be a couple of other movies that make a little bit of a shift. Maybe they will. But I honestly don't think this is going to start a domino effect. I don't think we're about to see, because Top Gun and because Mission Impossible movie, I don't think this is going to start any type of a movement to get these things moving. So I think everything else is going to stay where it is. If anything, I think Top Gun moving out might embolden other studios to keep their movies where they are, because now Top Gun moving out, that means there's one less giant big blockbuster for their films to have to worry about or to have to deal with. So yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Again, I don't like the idea of them moving it, and I'm disappointed that they're moving it, but I totally understand. These are potentially $2 billion films. Not $2 billion films, but two films that have billion-dollar potential. And they feel like they need to move them. They moved them. So I get it. No complaints for me. I'm disappointed, but no complaints to me. But nor do I feel like this is going to cause any kind of a big movement where other movies start to change dates. I think all the other major ones are going to stay where they are. Don't know that for sure. We'll find out in the coming days and weeks, but that's where it is for now. The question is for you guys. How do you feel about Top Gun and Mission Impossible both being bumped later into 2022? Top Gun was coming out pretty soon. It's now coming out 8 months from now instead. Do you understand their reasoning for moving it? Maybe you wholeheartedly disagree with them and you think they just should have left them where they are. Whatever you guys think about it, jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With all that down and out of the way, we're now going to move on to your live comments and questions, shall we? And this is how you get in a live comment or question on the show. Simply go down into the description of this video. You'll see a tip link. You can click on that there, or you could enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. Once you guys get to that form, make sure you put your name in there. A lot of people forget to put in their name and it just comes through as anonymous. And if you tip to our show and you support our channel, I want to make sure you guys get a shout out. So try to make sure to remember to put that in. Anyway, fill it out, send it in. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's appropriate for the show or an upcoming companion video. And of course, you're supporting our channel at the same time. And we all thank you very much for that support. All right, let's move on now to those questions, shall we? We're going to get things started off with those questions with Sam Fisher, who writes, what does he write? There it is. Have you seen Netflix's The Movies That Made Us? We've talked about that many times, Sam. Yeah, we've talked about that thing many times. It's really, really good. Have you seen Netflix's The Movies That Made Us? It's just like The Toys That Made Us, only about movies. It's 8 episodes. The movies they cover are Dirty Dancing, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, Die Hard, Back to the Future, Pretty Woman, Jurassic Park, and Forrest Gump. And yeah, we have talked about this a number of times. I still haven't seen, I didn't see the one on Pretty Woman. And I don't think I've watched the one on Forrest Gump. At any rate, we've talked about it several times. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, take Sam Fisher's advice. Go check it out. If you're a movie fan, it is really worth watching. All right, next up, we've got Alan Schroederer, who writes, hey, John and Rob. Rob's obviously not here today. I was looking at the upcoming release calendar for the next year or so, and I noticed that Mission Impossible 7 and John Wick 4 are releasing on the same day. Not anymore. Do you think one of them will move? If so, which and why? Love the show and bring on the filthy. Well, Alan, it's a good question, but it's one that doesn't even need to be addressed right now because that's no longer the issue, but good question nonetheless. If they were going to stay the same, I would say John Wick 4 probably moves, but now the point is moot. Nobody has to move at this point. All right. Pano75 writes, Loki was too uneven because there just wasn't enough material for 6 episodes. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Anyway, I think an experienced director and his editor can easily cut that series down into a 2.5 hour movie without sacrificing much plot-wise or character-wise. See, here's the thing. If you know how to tell a story, then you should be able to do 10 episodes, 12 episodes, 20 episodes. If you know how to get into your characters and get into your story, you should be able to tell a story that in an entertaining, satisfying way can cover that many issues and stories. It's just about what you choose to put in or what you choose to withhold, right? What do you choose to put in and what do you choose to withhold and not address or not go into, or branches that you decide not to follow, paths you create that you decide to put dead ends on instead of following them down. There was lots of potential there for the Loki series to be a 12 episode thing. As they did it, the way they did it, I would say this, the way they did it and the choices they decided to have, and the choices they decided to make into what parts of the story they wanted to tell and which parts of the story they decided to ignore, is it could have been done in a movie format. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, this easily could have been a 12 episode show if they had decided to tell the story in a certain way. The way they decided to tell the story, I'm going to agree with you. Loki could have easily been a 2 to 2.5 hour movie with the right editing, and it could have been tight and flowed and been packed. I think it really could have been done that way. So I think there's two different directions they could have gone. I think the way they chose was a little bit unsatisfying. They chose to tell a very limited amount of story, but spread out over 6 episodes. And to me, Loki was good. I just didn't love it. Loki was good. I just didn't love it. But the way they decided to tell the story, it would have been much better served as a movie. I think it would have been tighter, flowed better, had more pace to it. So yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. I really do. All right, next up, we're going to go to, where are we at? Super Saiyan 7 writes, I just had a wild thought. Over under 10% that we see an Asa Butterfield Peter Parker show up in No Way Home. 0. Supposedly the role of MCU Spider-Man came down to him and Tom Holland. I don't really give a hoot about Asa, but it seems like something they do. I don't think it seems like something they would do at all. By the way, Asa Butterfield's a good actor. I like Asa Butterfield, but or does he pronounce it Asa? I never know for sure. But anyway, I think he's a good little actor, but I don't think they're going to do that. So I'm going to go 0% on that. All right. Old Danny Boy writes, hey, John, I know the movie business Ben Platt is a new name, but I just read that prior to shooting this movie, he consistently had the leading role in all the plays that they put on at his nursing home. I think he's going to do great. And of course, Ben Platt is the star of the upcoming movie, Dear Evan Hansen, a movie that I think looks fantastic. And I think he's going to be great in it. I'm just saying, the dude looks more like he's in his 30s, and it just feels a little bit jarring. I didn't think that before, but I do think it now. It's a little bit jarring looking at him trying to pass himself off as a high school student. It's not about the fact that he's older. It's the fact that he looks older, and it's a little bit jarring for me, but I'm sure he's going to do great. Okay, let's see. Next up, Pano75 writes, number 1. Damn, I thought last week's What If was dark, but today's is downright depressing. 2, speaking of Jeffrey Wright's voice, I can't get over the fact that in Shaft 2000, they had him speak with this ridiculous, I remember this, unintelligible Dominican accent. What the fuck? Well, listen, that was the character. Remember, you don't build movies around your actors, right? The characters are not there to serve the actors. The actors are there to serve the characters. And that's what the character was. And Jeffrey Wright got the job. So you don't change the character to suit the actor. Not at all. You get the actor that'll fit the character. And I thought he did well. By the way, let me say last week's What If, I thought was really good. Last week's, the one with, all the Avengers getting assassinated. The notion that Hank Pym could take out all the Avengers, that was pretty badass. I actually, when it revealed that it was Hank Pym and you killed Hope, and thinking he took out the Hulk, he took out Thor, he took out Black Widow, he took out Hawkeye, and it was all Hank Pym. I thought that was pretty badass. This one was, I'm not going to go into all the details about it because it just aired the other day, but this one surrounding Doctor Strange was a very different one from the other three, and it was quite good. I didn't think it was the masterpiece that some people are making it out to be, but I thought it was quite good and very, very different from what the other ones have been. So if you haven't seen the new one, do make sure you watch the new one. Okay, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Russell Amador, who writes, "Hey, John. If no meteor hits Earth in October, October is shaping up to be a good time at the movies, from Bond to Dune to Venom to Halloween, so on and so forth. Obviously, we know Dune is top of your list, so what's second most anticipated for you next month?" It would have to be, it's James Bond. James Bond. If it wasn't for Bond, it would be, I am ludicrously looking forward to Venom. I love Venom. I thought the first Venom was great. I really did. But I got to say, I'm looking forward to this Bond movie even more. So yeah, it's shaping up to look pretty damn good, Russell. Indeed it does. All right, Fabian Vegas writes, "I was so focused on the U.S. release that I was surprised that Dune releases in 2 weeks here in the Netherlands. Just got my IMAX tickets for September 19th. So stoked." Yeah, this to me is one of the reasons why it screams that they are confident in this movie, because they are taking a sometimes used approach of releasing this film internationally a number of weeks earlier than it's going to be released in the US, because normally they do it the other way around. But the idea of this tactic is they believe that audiences that watch Dune are going to lose their minds over it. So their strategy is release it overseas first and let word of mouth from all the international fans start spreading across the internet saying this is the best film ever, blah, blah, blah. By the way, the first reviews for Dune should come out tomorrow, because I might be wrong about this, but I believe Dune is premiering tomorrow at the Venice Film Festival. And so we should be seeing our first actual reactions to Dune tomorrow. But I think the strategy is to get a lot of people around the world talking about, so when it opens in the US, it'll heighten its opening weekend box office. But hey, Warner Brothers, how about not backstabbing the damn movie with your little frickin' betrayal knife and putting it on HBO Max on the same day? Get rid of that HBO Max week bullshit. Every single time you've done it, it's proved it doesn't work. Fucking double-crossing and betraying and undercutting and backstabbing your filmmakers, it's just infuriating. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Super K Works, Worker 9000 writes, where is it? T-minus 2 working days till Shang-Chi. Yeah, so this was obviously probably put out yesterday. I am hyped. Was Tony Leung at the premiere? He was not, actually. I was really surprised. He was one of the only guys not at the premiere. I can't seem to find interviews with him promoting the movie, which should be a good thing. Also, been watching daily since D23. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, man, for that. Yeah, I could only assume that Tony Leung either was working on another movie at the time. Sometimes certain stars don't show up to a premiere because they're literally on location somewhere else shooting another movie. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Tony Leung was doing. Or maybe, COVID travels, or he didn't want to put himself, in a high risk environment or something. I don't know. But for whatever reason, Tony Leung wasn't at the premiere, which is too bad because he's so good in this movie. Tony Leung as Shang-Chi's dad is so good in this movie. It's just nutty. But no, I do believe he was not there. At the thing. Okay, next up. Guillaume Labelle writes, John, this is a great week. I'm seeing Shang-Chi tonight for the first time. Awesome. And on Friday, after a long road trip, I'll be binging the newest season of Money Heist. Easily one of the best TV shows in the last 10 years. I highly recommend it. Yeah, listen, I got to get on Money Heist. A lot of people have been recommending Money Heist to me for months. So I really should give it a shot at some point. I've been busy watching Yellowstone, and I just got all cut up. So I've watched 3 seasons of Yellowstone in 2 weeks. It's great. For those of you who watch Yellowstone, Rip is like the ultimate man. Rip and Mr. Rogers. Yes, that's what it is. The 2 ultimate examples of manliness to me, on polar opposite scales, but the 2 ultimate expressions of manliness. Number 1, Fred Rogers. And number 2, Rip from Yellowstone. Those are the 2 most ultimate man examples you're ever going to see. All right. Next up. Let's see. Anonymous viewer writes, 1 of 4. Okay, John, here's the best option to introduce. Oh, everybody thinks they have the best option to introduce X-Men. Anyway. Okay, John, here's the best option to introduce X-Men. The X gene has been dormant in most humans since the beginning of time, with the exception of a small percent of people, i.e. Apocalypse, Magneto, Xavier, etc. Many unusual events have been covered up by Stryker and his government agency. Professor X has been covering up mutants' existence because he knows who Stryker is. He's yet to develop a powerful enough cerebro to find every mutant. Instead, he searches for anomalies around the world. The Eternals conclusive event will activate the X gene in more people. MCU can still keep the mythology of core X-Men heroes and villains, but once the event occurs, Professor X decides to come out of the shadows. He showed up in New York just in time to see the ship fly away with Strange. This event is why Professor X puts together a tactical team after the snap. He realized he had to do more. Magneto decides to find his own team in Genosha. It can take place after the snap. What say you, my good man? Well, I think it's filled with problems. Honestly, I think it's filled with problems. But then again, every possible theory and solution I've come up with has been filled with problems as well. Now, look. The Eternals does present a truly legitimate opportunity for the MCU to introduce the concept of mutants than any other of the MCU projects have so far because of the Celestials. And of course, in the comics, depending on which history you read, because it's changed. But in the comics, the Celestials actually kind of planted the seeds of the X gene ages ago, which, by the way, I hate that. I don't like that story hook. I don't like it at all. I love just the basic idea that the X gene is just a part of evolution. I love that. I hate the idea that, no, there are these other great powerful creatures in the MCU known as the Celestials, and they designed the X gene. Okay, that's... whatever. I personally prefer the idea that it's literally what Professor X says it is in the original X-Men movies. It's evolution. It's just a part of humanity's evolution. But at any rate, it is there in the comics. So it does provide an opportunity for them to introduce that. How they actually decide to do it, I'm not sure, Nightmare. Listen, dude, your theory is as good as any theory I've come up with, which is not very good. I have not come up with any very good theories, to be honest with you. So your theories is every bit as good as mine. Also probably every bit as weak as mine as well, but we'll find out soon. We're getting closer. We are finally actually getting closer. Okay, next up. We got the knight who says, "Nee. I shall be forced to say nee a second time." Anyway, hello. I hope your thumb is doing better. I actually have some motion in my thumb, which is good. I can do, like, for instance, I can pick up this remote. I cannot pick up a heavy bag of groceries with this hand. So it's getting there. It's getting there. I'm still supposed to be wearing the splint, the brace, but it just gets in the damn way too much. So I'm just being stubborn and not wearing it. But yeah, you notice I'm not doing big thumbs up with this hand right now, but it's getting there. So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, where are we at here? Hope your thumb is doing better. I saw Dune Part 2 was already listed on IMDb as in pre-production. Do you think it's possible Villeneuve made a deal after the HBO Max mess so the sequel happens for sure? I want to see the complete story so bad. Okay, this is a very important thing to know. IMDb means nothing for movies that have not yet come out. For movies that have come out, you can absolutely rely on the information in IMDb. I'm sure it's not 100% accurate in all the literally millions of pieces of data entered into it. But for the most part, any bit of information in there about a movie that has already come out, you can pretty much take to the bank. But it is a very different story for movies that have not yet come out. For movies that have not yet come out. because a lot of information gets thrown in there and you cannot rely on any of it. Like, honestly, don't rely on any information in IMDb. It's not saying that everything in IMDb isn't true. It's just that you can't really rely on it. So I wouldn't, just because this says Dune 2 in pre-production, don't really count on that meaning anything. Don't count on that meaning anything. I'm sure some pre-production work has been done on it, but whether or not it actually gets an official green light, we'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't count on that for now, right now. All right. Where are we at? Let me just point this out. There's a moron in the live chat named Marvin Magnus saying John's thumb was fine to live stream, but he flaked on Ann and Friends. Yeah, because doing the show without my brace and moving a mouse around and clicking keys and all this kind of stuff made my hand hurt like fuck. And then it throbs and hurts me for the rest of the day. But I'm doing my job because I have an audience who relies on me to do this show. And I enjoy doing the show. And I have a responsibility to my audience, and I do my job. It's called responsibility. Look it up. However, unfortunately, that leaves me whining like a little bitch usually for the rest of the day because my hand is throbbing and my arm is sore. So yes, you moron, I did skip out on going out with my wife and her friends the other day because I was in a miserable mood because my hand was hurting so much. So, but thanks for making fun of it and thanks for making light of it. And, continue on mouth breathing. So anyway, there you go. All right, next up. Sorry, that really bothered me because I am in a lot of discomfort right now. Anyway, let's keep moving on here, shall we? The Batman writes, let's see. Where are we at? The Batman writes, John, I've noticed your chat doesn't talk about your most anticipated film of all time, mine. So I'm here to change that. Just out of curiosity, whose trailer did you like more, mine or Spider-Man's? Actually, that is pretty easy. The Batman trailer. Now, look, I love the MCU. I do. I think the MCU is great. I love Spider-Man. I love this iteration of Spider-Man. I love all that stuff. But the Batman trailer was better, in my opinion. In my opinion. That Batman trailer that came out, and I'm not even talking about what I saw at CinemaCon. I'm talking about the Batman trailer that came out all the way back at DC Fandom last year. I thought, listen, the thing is, this Spider-Man trailer was good, but all it really was an announcement trailer saying, ooh, look, the reality is bending, and ooh, look, there's Doc Ock, and ooh, look, and it's fun. It's fun. I like the Spider-Man trailer. I'm not shit talking it. I really like the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. I really do. But if you're going to ask me which one I thought was better, I thought that Batman trailer was better. I thought that Batman trailer was great. And I've grown to appreciate it even more. Like, I think I like that trailer more today than I did when it first came out. But yeah, I would say, again, it's just my own personal opinion. I personally found the Batman trailer to be better, but that's just me. All right, next up. The Batman also writes, John, don't think I've ever heard you or Rob give a full honest opinion of my year 2 era Batmobile. How do you think it compares to the Tumbler or earlier versions? Here's the thing about the Batmobile. I look at the Batmobile the same way I kind of look at the various Batman costumes, right? It's like, which is better, this movie's Batman costume or that movie's Batman costume? Honestly, I don't care. Like, as long as I look at the character and I know, oh, that's Batman. Right? Like, as long as I look at the character and I know, oh, that's Batman, I really don't care what the costume looks like. As long as it clearly is a Batman costume. That's all I care about. With the Batmobiles, I often feel the same way. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, when the Christopher Nolan Tumbler version of the Batmobile, like, that was so different from any incarnation or iteration of the Batmobile that we had ever seen that it really did stand out. But anyway, look, I think the Batmobile looks fine. I think it looks good. I can clearly look at it and say, that is obviously a Batmobile. Just like I can look at the costume and say, that is clearly a Batman costume. As long as I can do that, I don't really care too much, but it looks fine. It looks fine. It doesn't jump off the screen at me like the Tumblr did, but it looks totally fine. It looks totally fine. That's my take on it at any rate. All right, next up. The Batman also writes, John and Rob, what rogues gallery villain besides Joker would you like to see me face after the Riddler? It doesn't matter. I know people don't like me saying that, but it literally does not matter. It makes no difference. They can make the next villain Bane. They can make the next villain KG Beast. They can make the next villain Clayface. They can make the next villain whoever. It doesn't matter what villain they pick. It really doesn't matter. And people don't like hearing that about Batman or any superhero movie. It does not matter what villain they pick. Doesn't matter. Because what villain they pick will not make the movie any better or any worse. What will make the movie better or worse is how whatever character they pick is written. That's what will make the movie better or worse. And one of the big examples of this, and by the way, Kevin Cow sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that, man. And I'm going to go to something that Mark Newman put in there in a second, and I'll get to that in a minute. But look, for example, the Fantastic Four movies. Doctor Doom is one of the greatest villains in comic book history. Did putting him in those Fantastic Four movies make them good movies? Nope. Because it doesn't matter. If the character's not written well, it doesn't matter. At the same time, you can get a show like the animated Harley Quinn series, and Mark in the live chat brought this up, and I agree with him totally. And one of the most delightful, wonderful characters in that Harley Quinn series is Kite Man. Fucking Kite Man. But it doesn't matter that that's a ridiculous character. It's a character that they just made wonderful with wonderful writing for him. So honestly, when people ask me, what villain should they have is in the next Batman thing, I honestly say it doesn't matter what villain they put in there. All that matters is whatever villain they put, do they have a well-written villain? And if you write the villain well, it doesn't matter if it's King Shark, it doesn't matter if it's Clayface, it doesn't matter if it's Joker, and it doesn't matter if it's Kite Man. If you put in a well-written villain, regardless of who that villain is from the Batman Rogues Gallery, it'll work. And if you don't write it well, it doesn't matter if it's the Joker. It won't work. So that's kind of my take on that. All right, next up. The Sock writes, have you heard or read We Stand on Guard? I have not. It's a dystopian sci-fi about Canadian freedom fighters, figured you'd like that, against a tyrannical U.S. About 2/3 through book one. It's cool as fuck. Nope, I have never heard of that, but I'm going to go and look that up on Amazon as soon as I'm done the show, because I got to look for that. We Stand on Guard for Thee. Okay, let's see. Next up, Ben Rayner writes, hey, John, hope all is well. All is well. Thank you, my friend. Love the coverage from Las Vegas last week. Thank you so much. We had a great time doing it. Buy one, rent one, lose one. Terminal, the 2000, not the Tom Hanks one, the 2018 Margot Robbie film with Mike Myers. Also, Simon Pegg's in that one, by the way, too. 2, Bridges, 21 Bridges, and Without Remorse. What do you pick? And thanks for everything. Keep on bringing the filthy. None of those movies are very good, but the Terminal movie with Margot Robbie, Mike Myers, in 2000, what year was that? 2018. And with Simon Pegg as well. That's actually, it has its upside. It's an okay movie. It's okay. And I would take okay over crap, which is what 21 Bridges and Without Remorse were, unfortunately. 2 movies that should have been great because they have absolutely fantastic stars in both of them, but they both ended up to be totally crappy. So I will take the one that's at least okay, and that is the 2018 Terminal. That's the one I'll take. All right, thanks for writing, Ben. Good question. Fanimator writes, if you had to choose between rewatching either the Dark Knight trilogy or the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, which would you choose and why? For me, I would watch The Dark Knight any day just because none of the movies are as mediocre as Spider-Man 3. Yeah, I'll agree. I I don't think every one of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies are better than every one of the Sam Raimi movies. Not at all. Both of those trilogies have a film that has been in the argument for greatest comic book movie ever. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 for a long time was considered the best comic book movie ever. The Dark Knight by many people considered to be the best comic book movie ever. But I think overall, look, I don't like The Dark Knight Rises all that much. Like, I like it. It's good, but I don't think it's great. It certainly doesn't live up to the standards of the first two Nolan Batman films, but it's better than Spider-Man 3. So I will take the Dark Knight trilogy. All right. Let's see. Next up, Alan writes, "Hey, John, any update on the possibility of Chris Carr coming back on the show?" I've answered this question several times, but anyway, I miss seeing her on the show. I would love to see you, Chris, and Aaron back together again. Do you still remember, aren't they the same thing comment involving Star Wars and Star Trek? Yeah, that was the one Aaron pulled on me. Yeah, unfortunately, listen, I adore Chris Carr. But I don't think we're going to see her back. I mean, I might be able to, there might be an opportunity now sometime in the future to have her on as a special guest, but the problem is doing the show remotely with her didn't quite work out. And I've now moved away. She used to only live like 15 or 20 minutes from me. Now I live a little over an hour away from her. So her driving out and coming into studio is not really feasible. So I don't think we're going to see, Chris return on a regular basis, but hopefully at some point I'll be able to have her in as a guest because she's wonderful. You guys should totally be following her on social media. She's absolutely fantastic. I love Chris. I really do. All right, next up. Jay Bling writes, "I went to the Shang-Chi fan screening 2 weeks ago, and I totally agree about Tony Leung and his take on the Mandarin. There's a lot to say about him, but I'm just happy the MCU finally gave us a true Mandarin." Right. And I'm not going to say anything that's going to spoil anything about Mandarin and all that kind of stuff. But yes, Tony Leung is fantastic. And there's this whole speech he gives in the movie about Mandarin that's actually pretty great. And I'll leave it for you guys to see yourself when you go see it. But I'm glad you had a chance to see it, Jay Bling. All right, next up, we got Casey McNatt who writes, "Hey, John, Disney Plus released 5 shorts from Doug Days, the character from Up, and it's really sad that we lost the great legend like Ed Asner. As you know, Ed Asner voiced Carl in Up. R.I.P. Ed Asner, you'll be missed." Yeah, we talked about the passing of Ed Asner the other day, and it is just it's just crazy and inspiring how this guy reinvented his career through the decades. He's a 7-time Emmy-winning actor, and then as he got a lot older, he kind of transitioned a lot to voice work and so he's done a lot of animated stuff, like a lot of the DC animated stuff as well. And then for a new audience, he was totally known as Santa Claus in Elf and as as the voice of Carl in Up. And it was especially sad to hear about his passing right when the new Doug shorts were coming out. So yeah, that's too bad. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Casey. Donda writes, "Buy one, rent one, lose one. Zoolander 2, Hot Tub Time Machine, Hangover 2. I'll buy Hot Tub Time Machine 2 because even though it was a massive, massive step down from the first Hot Tub Time Machine, it definitely had some big laugh moments. Totally did. So even though it's not great, I'll buy that one. Then I will rent Hangover 2. Again, massive step down from the first one, but it at least had its moments. And then Zoolander 2, which, we'll lose that one. All right. Brazilian Dude writes, "Finally, a what if episode that I loved. Haunting, beautiful, and surprising. Fantastic voice work from Cumberbatch and McAdams. Hopefully the series continues on this uptrend." Yeah, it was really good. Again, I find the series to be completely irrelevant, but was it fun to watch? Yeah. I particularly like the last 2 ones. The one with Hank Pym from a couple of weeks ago. This new one that just came out surrounding Doctor Strange. Very different approach. They're fun they are what if is supposed to be. A fun little side story just to let your imagination go. And I thought it was really, really well done. All right, next up. Joe Din writes, and tips in like $20. Thank you, Joe Din, for supporting our channel on that level, man. Joe Din writes, "Hey, John, Not sure if you follow the current events of the Madden franchise. Not really. But just wanted to get your general thoughts on how a company like EA having a monopoly over a franchise can be detrimental. The quality of Madden has gotten worse and worse. According to gamers and critics, many claim it's because EA does not care to put forth any effort to improve the franchise. Can you give any thoughts on this and how it possibly relates to the movie industry, such as Netflix and their lack of quality? I don't think there's any relation to the movie industry at all. And I honestly can't give any commentary because I haven't played a Madden game in a long time. It's been a long time since I played a Madden game, so I really can't give any input on any of that. But listen, exclusivity, anybody can make a football game. You can't just make an NFL game. You gotta license those rights. You gotta pay for those. The NFL makes a lot of money from that, and no one's gonna pay a lot of money if other companies can do it too. So again, I'm really the last person to give my input on it because I don't know the situation well enough, unfortunately. But I do not believe it ties in any sort of way. The video game industry functions in a very different kind of mechanism than the movie industry does. So I don't think there's a comparison. But again, I can't really talk about it because I don't play the Madden games. I haven't played them since probably Madden 15. So yeah, there's that. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? Tone Shepard writes, one of two. Hey, John, I've watched since 2018, but this is my first time writing in. Well, thanks for writing in, man. I appreciate that. Dune looks great, and I'm excited, even though I don't know any more than what you or Rob have said about the franchise. I also wanted to watch something else by Villeneuve first. To prepare for Blade Runner 2049, I just watched the original. My main problem, nothing Decker did changed much, as the replicants would have died anyway. Did I miss something? Is that why you don't like it? What's your favorite Villeneuve film? We'll start with that last one. I think my favorite Denis Villeneuve film is probably Prisoners. But I mean, he's done several fantastic movies. I even really like Blade Runner 2049. I think Blade Runner 2049 was great. But yes, I am one of the very, very few people in the world that don't like the original Blade Runner. I'm in the total unpopular kids table with the fact that I'm not an original Blade Runner fan. But I really did like Blade Runner 2049. But for several reasons. The movie never worked for me, the original. But yeah, Prisoners, man, not only do you get to see what Denis Villeneuve can do with his storytelling sensibilities, but I've always said the number one job of a director is to get the best performances out of your actors. And when you see guys like Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman, guys who are already great actors, and you see them being even more elevated, that really speaks to the director. And so I'm going to stick with Prisoners, although, I mean, he's done a bunch of others. Arrival, a lot of people like that one. Sicario. Is that one? Anyway. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Prisoners. That's mine. Okay, next up. Let's see, where are we at? We're at Jonathan, who writes, finally, after like how many episodes, the What If finally gave us an episode that by let me try this again. After like how many episodes, the What If finally gave us an episode that by far exceeds everything. Damn, that Doctor Strange What If was great. Finally, this is the What If series that has some merit to its existence. And yeah, see, one of the things I liked about this Doctor Strange episode was that the first one, the Captain Carter one, was just it's the Captain America story, but what happens if Steve and Carter swap places? I mean, that's really all it was. There was even a little bit of that too in the T'Challa episode. What if T'Challa got picked up instead of Star-Lord, right? The last couple have become their own stories. The assassination of the Avengers was its own story, and this one truly feels like a different story. And I liked it on that, and I hope it continues down that path for the rest of the episodes. All right, next up. Diego writes, Let's see. I just watched the Doctor Strange episode of What If, and wow, I really thought it stood out among the previous releases. I think Greg Alba summed it up really well. The story had breathing room and consequences. Have you seen it and thoughts? Yeah, I really liked it. I did. I don't know that it had a lot of breathing room. I mean, it is still ultimately like 30-minute episodes, but it was well used. You know, they didn't try to do too much. They took one central idea and just focused on the one central idea and did the best they could with it. And they cranked out something that was really fun to watch with, you know, a very different ending than the other ones have had as well. But again, it's only came out like the other day, so I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. All right, next up. Diego also writes, honestly, do we even need the X-Men in the MCU? No, we don't. I just want some good / consistent movies. With the amount of characters they have, they could sustain their own universe, in my opinion. That being said, if anyone can pull off bringing them into the MCU, it's Feige. Diego, that's exactly my point of view on this as well. The MCU doesn't need the X-Men. It just doesn't. The MCU is loaded with characters, and they still have tons of characters still at their disposal to bring in. The MCU does not need the X-Men. That said, the X-Men do not need the MCU. Obviously nobody's asking me from Marvel is asking me what they should do, because what I would tell them they should do, in my opinion, is they should make X-Men movies, but in their own separate universe. It's totally separated from the Avengers world. Because the Fox, all the characters they got from Fox and all the X-Men characters, it literally numbers in the hundreds. They literally do not need to be in the same world as the Avengers. And my fear, something Kevin Feige has masterfully been able to avoid up until now, my fear is that what is special in this world anymore? Like, one of the fun things about comic book movies is that they have the fantastical within the mundane, right? That's what made Spider-Man so great. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. There weren't 500 other superpowered beings running around. Spider-Man was unique in his universe. It was the fantastical within the mundane. Same with Christopher Nolan's Batman. There wasn't a Wonder Woman out there. There wasn't a Superman flying around. It was Batman. And he was unique in his world, which made how the world reacted to him, or how the world reacted to Spider-Man, or how in the old Christopher Reeve films, how the world reacted to Superman. It made it kind of special. We now live in an MCU where if somebody's walking down the sidewalk and sees a woman across the street on the other sidewalk creating lightning bolts with her hands and like juggling tennis balls with lightning bolts out of her hands, nobody's going to think anything of it in that world because they see it every single day. There is so much superpowers in the MCU world right now. There is nothing special about it anymore. That doesn't mean they can't continue to make great movies and tell great stories. Shang-Chi proves that they do. WandaVision proves that they can. But to now already take an already overcrowded MCU world with a lot of other potential characters still to come and add in the pantheon of hundreds of mutant characters, I'm just saying, look, if you're right, if anybody's going to be able to do this and do it great, it's Kevin Feige, right? And Kevin Feige we trust. But I would just say, if I woke up tomorrow to find out Kevin Feige was saying that they're creating their own new cinematic universe, the MXCU, the Marvel X-Men Cinematic Universe. We've got the MCU and the MXCU. I would be very, very happy with that. I'd be incredibly happy with that because that fixes all the potential problems with how do you introduce X-Men without, screwing up the mythology in the background and all that kind of stuff. It just answers a lot of questions and it solves a lot of problems. So I would be totally up for that. But They're going to shoehorn the X-Men and the mutants into the existing MCU. It's going to become even more overcrowded. And again, if anybody's going to be able to make this work, it is Kevin Feige. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt until he proves otherwise. So let's just see how it all turns out. All right, guys, listen. I forgot when I started the show to bring in my drink. The cup is empty. I forgot to bring in a drink with, and my throat has already killed me. So if you guys don't mind, we're going to take a 2-minute break, no more than 2 minutes. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. I'm going to run out and get my drink all settled. We'll be right back in and we'll continue on. So don't go anywhere. Talk amongst yourselves. We will be right back. Okay, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence. Give me a second here. I needed that. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I went and got my drink. Now, let's keep things going here, shall we? Let's see. We are at Kevin Lubbers. Kevin Lubbers writes, American reviews of Shang-Chi are great. Dutch reviews say it's flat. One of the worst Marvel movies. Lags, story, creativity, diversity is a big item in America. The Suicide Squad is a much better movie. What explains this difference? I mean, first of all, I doubt... Look, if I wanted to go through and cherry pick out negative reviews, I can make it look like the critics in any country do that, right? I would like to see what 40, people's responses to the things are, as opposed to the Dutch. So I mean, yeah, I could find 3 or 4 negative Shang-Chi reviews from American reviewers too. So I doubt that it's en masse though. I doubt that it's en masse. All right, next up. Diego writes, I've been meaning to write this in for a bit, but I have to recommend Seth Rogen's new book called Yearbook. Not only is it funny as hell, but it's a great look inside the comedy/film world. His thoughts on the Sony hack, the interview are fascinating. Yeah, Anne, I'm familiar with this because Anne bought it on audiobook. And so I haven't heard the whole thing, but I've heard several hours of it. And yeah, it's pretty fun. He actually tells this one great story. There's this one great story in his book. And you should get the audio version if you can, because he narrates it himself and he has some voice actors jump in to play parts of when he's telling certain stories. Anyway, there's this one great story he tells in the book about when he was a kid with like the Boy Scouts, that sort of thing. And they went on this big hike into the British Columbia mountains and wilderness, and they got lost and they got caught in a storm and they all thought they were going to die. It's like a fantastic story. So you should. So yeah, everybody take Diego's recommendation there and do check out Seth Rogen's new book called Yearbook. It's a good Canadian kid, but it's really quite good. All right. Diego also writes, what do we have to do as a fan base to get you to watch Fargo? The first 3 seasons are effing mind-blowing. I really think you'd enjoy it. Yeah, listen, I've heard a lot of people tell me for a long time that Fargo was great. I am going to get on Fargo here. Maybe now, because I just finished Yellowstone and I'm going to be looking for a new thing to watch. So maybe now is the time for me to start watching Fargo. And I do love the original movie. I love the movie. Anyway, Cletus McGeetus writes, hey, John. Hey, Robert. Robert's not here today. So the last 2 episodes of What If have really been good in my opinion. Have you been watching it? And what do you think of the latest episode? Thanks for bringing on the filthy. Yeah, as I was saying, I think the last couple have been great. I personally prefer the Hank Pym one even more than the Doctor Strange one. And I thought don't get me wrong, I thought the Doctor Strange one was really good. I really liked it. But I think I'm a mystery kind of guy. I really like a good mystery. And that's what that episode was. It was a very short murder mystery whodunit. And for that reason, I think I preferred that one even more, but I've really enjoyed the last couple of ones. I really have. And I dropped my thing there. Anyway, doesn't matter. I've really enjoyed the last couple of ones, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here on out. Okay, next up. Fan of Rob writes, "Hey Rob, who's not here. Thanks for the advice a while back. I now have my own Nakatomi Die Hard collection box set. This thing is so damn cool. I know that is one of Rob's prized possessions, is that collection box set he has. He's showed it off on the show here before, and I know he loves that. I'm glad you were able to get your hands on it too." All right, John Early writes, "Hey John, I just wanted to know your thoughts on the Adam West Batman. I know comic book writer Frank Miller hated that show, but I honestly don't care about Frank Miller's opinion. Then why bring up what Frank Miller thought of the show? If you don't care about his opinion, why did you bring up his opinion? And who cares what some random guy thinks about a random TV show? Look, obviously Adam West Batman is not the Batman that we know and love. I mean, obviously, right? But for what it was completely delightful. It was completely delightful. Who knew Batman carried around bat shark repellent in his utility belt? It was completely delightful for what it was. Obviously, it's not the Batman that we know. But for what it was, especially of its era, I thought it was tremendously fun to watch. Tremendously fun. All right, anyway, next up. Joey LK writes, "John, this has been bothering me for a while. How did the 5 or 6 Guardians of the Galaxy manage to live on that little ship, the Milano? It just doesn't seem that big. Maybe room enough for 2. Thanks, love the show." Well, it wasn't tiny. I think I would probably put the Milano probably on par with the Millennium Falcon. So not giant. It's not a capital class ship by any stretch of the imagination. My thing is they probably didn't live in it, day to day. They probably would stop at places, get a place to sleep. They probably had quick bunks. I don't know. That's just my take on it. It's not like the Starship Enterprise, but I would probably put it on par probably with the Falcon. So there's probably enough room in there to sleep, but they probably made frequent stops. That's my guess at any rate. All right, next up, an anonymous viewer writes, "John, do executive producers like Kevin Feige or Jon Favreau share in the profits or get paid some sort of bonus or commission if the movies they executive produce does well, or are they paid a static salary? Always wondered about this. Thanks." It's like anything in contract, man. Every contract is unique. As Robert always says, it's not about what you deserve, it's about what you negotiate. So every actor, every writer, every producer has their own set of contractual agreements that they put into their things. Some of them do, some of them don't. So it all depends on the individual situation. It's a good question, though. All right, next up. Amit Suresh writes, "Hey, John and Rob, just wanted to say love the show. Thank you so much, dude. I got my tickets for Shang-Chi at 7 p.m. tomorrow, and I am damn excited. Can't wait to hear your spoiler-filled thoughts on this as well. Have a great day, guys." All right, and that brings up a great point for me to make that announcement, is that I did mention this the other day, but we will be doing our Shang-Chi open spoiler review this Sunday at 4 p.m. Los Angeles time. So whatever 4 p.m. LA time is, wherever you live, you figure that out. I'm not going to do the math for you. You know what? Can I just say this to you? It's always amazing to me when people write to me and say, "Hey, John, I noticed you said you were going to do this special video at 8 a.m. on Monday. What time is that in Romania?" Why the fuck are you asking me? Google it. What? And you think I'm joking, but I literally get that like 4 or 5 times a week. "Hey, John, you mentioned this was going to be at this time, LA time. What time is that in Finland?" What? How should I know? You're the one who lives in Finland. You look it up. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I am not John Campea, the timekeeper. I know the time in every time zone around the world. I don't know. I barely know what time it is here. Anyway, so yes, Sunday, 4 p.m. So that gives you guys tonight to see Shang-Chi. It gives you tomorrow to see Shang-Chi. It gives you Saturday to see Shang-Chi. It even gives you the early part of Sunday to see Shang-Chi. So giving you guys plenty of headroom. And then Sunday, 4 p.m. Los Angeles time is when we will do our open spoiler discussion on that. Sapphire Animation writes in the live chat, what time is that on Mars? Yeah, go F yourself. What time is that on Mars? I like that. All right, next up. Big Drives Down Under. Tips in like $20. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, dude. And he writes, hey, mate, a big fan from Aussie. Thank you so much. Always watch your show at 3 a.m. Here we go into our time zone stuff. Always watch your show at 3 a.m. before work, but this morning I'm off to see Shang-Chi, but was surprised only 4 others had booked already for the first session. So I'm worried you might be right about the box office takings. Yeah. I mean, look, I have been saying this for a while now. There are 2 truths, and they are not mutually exclusive. Truth number 1, this movie's great. It's all subjective, of course, but to me, truth number 1, Shang-Chi is great. Truth number 2, it's gonna struggle at the box office. I mean, on top of the things we talked about earlier, right? The fact that it's got no recognizable MCU characters, it's got no big name stars in it, it's dealing with the pandemic, on top of the fact that, frankly, I didn't think it had a very good marketing campaign. I didn't think the trailers were all that great. I mean, I got all excited when I saw Abomination and Wong in the one trailer, but other than that, I haven't been thrilled with the trailers. I don't think they've been great trailers. I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't think they've had great trailers. So you've had a mediocre ad campaign. You got the pandemic. You got no big name stars. You don't have, you know, Shang-Chi is not a recognizable MCU character. This has got a lot of things going against it. Now, the good news is that means if you want to go see it opening night or opening weekend, you'll probably be able to find some empty seats. And that's the good news. That's the silver lining in the storm cloud. As somebody was writing in the live chat, I lost where it was, but somebody wrote in the live chat saying, but it's got the Marvel brand. Yeah. And that's why it'll make 40 or $50 million, because it's got the Marvel brand. And that's why another great movie like Suicide Squad could only muster 27 million. I think Shang-Chi is going to be able to muster like 45 to 50. But everything else has got to work against. No name stars, no recognizable MCU characters, a blah marketing campaign, a big uptick in the pandemic spikes. All these things are too hard to fight against. If it was a non-MCU movie, we're talking about a movie that opens to $13 million. 13, 14, 15, maybe on a great day, 20. But since it's an MCU movie, it'll have that extra attention, 45, maybe 50. Fingers crossed more, because it deserves more. But it is what it is. But hey, man, it means you're going to have the theater to yourself. So there you go. But guys, yeah, do go and check it out. It is really quite great. Okay. Let's see. That was Big Movie Drives. Next up, F.A. Master writes, I'd love nothing better than to see Shang-Chi this weekend at my local cinema to support the industry. But here in the UK, I just don't feel safe yet. I'm going to wait the 45 days and watch it on Disney+. I hope studios are donating to the cinema chains to help them. No, the studios aren't donating shit. But listen, I get it. I do. I do not begrudge anybody. Like, the freaking basement dweller mouth breather, I don't want to leave my house. I like to sit here in my couch with my soda and my Doritos. I mean, yeah, that is like, dude, get a life. Get off your ass. Get outside. But I don't begrudge anybody who either you're in a place where it's limited theaters are open because of the pandemic, or just because of the pandemic, don't feel comfortable right now going out. I don't begrudge you that at all. Like, as somebody who's vaccinated and takes precautions, I feel perfectly comfortable going out. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I do. I feel, as somebody who's vaccinated, takes precautions, I feel totally comfortable going out. But that doesn't mean you have to feel the same way. And if you feel uncomfortable going out, man, listen, you're just being responsible with your own health. And I begrudge you nothing on that. For somebody like you, absolutely stay at home, wait the 45 days, get it on Disney Plus in a month and a half, 2 months from now, whenever Disney decides to release it. It might be a little bit longer than 45 days, depending on how it performs, but absolutely. I don't begrudge you that in the least. So here's hoping the whole thing doesn't get completely spoiled for you. But that, even if you get the whole movie spoiled for you, it won't matter. Just watch the movie. The movie's great. All right, next up. Let's see. Kylo Ken writes, another benefit of giving Manifest another season is folks like me that have never seen the show may give it a shot. That's true. When I heard that the show was canceled, I had no interest in starting a show with no conclusion. Knowing that we'll get one might bring me in. Yeah, I mean, that's a benefit for you and I as viewers. I don't know that it's a benefit to Netflix per se, but it is definitely an upside, Kylo Ken. Like, listen, there have been shows like Yellowstone, right? I never watched Yellowstone. And then I got turned on to it and I started watching it because it was available for me to watch it. And there you go. So that could be another upside, Kylo, definitely. All right. Duke writes, hey, John, I'm trying to get better at analyzing films. Besides identifying acts 1, 2, and 3, as well as finding out who the protagonist what is the protagonist problem and how are they going to solve it? What are some other elements you look for with each piece of film / TV that you watch? None. Now look, I am what you would call an experiential film fan, right? Like, I don't sit there, like, yes, when I'm watching a film, I can identify, okay, this is the transition from Act 1 to Act 2, from Act 2 to Act 3. Here's our protagonist. Here's our antagonist. Here's the problems facing our protagonist and what do they have to overcome to get to the conclusion of the film in Act 3. Yeah, I recognize and identify and see all that stuff. Yes. But none of it is what I look for when evaluating my experience with the movie, because to me, movies are experiential events. What experience did the movie give you? I don't care how technically correct your 3-act structure was and your antagonist and protagonist. None of that matters unless your film delivers an experience of fear, of laughter, of excitement, of thought, of contemplation, of dread. I mean, whatever it is, whatever that experience is that your movie is trying to deliver, did your movie deliver that experience? Do I walk out of the theater feeling like when I walked out of, here's 2 completely opposite movies that I had like similar kind of experiences with. Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers documentary. I hope I'm saying the right title, because there's that Tom Hanks Mr. Rogers movie and then there's the Mr. Rogers documentary. But the Mr. Rogers documentary and Avengers Endgame. These are 2 polar opposite movies that gave me amazing experiences. Because I walked out of Endgame like most people did. On your left, the portal scene and Cap getting the Mjolnir and standing alone, Cap rebuckling up his shield, standing against Thanos and his entire army all by himself. I mean, the thrills, the experience, all that kind of stuff. You just felt like you had a damn experience. At the same time, when I came out of the Mr. Rogers documentary, I felt like I had every bit of experience that I did out of Endgame. Just very different, though. You experience wonder. And you experience compassion. And you experience empathy. And honestly, you experience more self-examination than I have never had anything that made me want to do self-examination more in my life. Like no movie has ever made me want to sit and try to evaluate myself as a man more than watching that damn Mr. Rogers documentary. He's the damn fucking GOAT. and I know he wouldn't approve of me using that language, but Mr. Rogers is the damn fucking goat. He was the fucking man. He was a man among men. He's like the ultimate fucking man. And again, I know he wouldn't approve of my language. That being said, it was a life-changing kind of experience just watching that damn documentary. And whether you're doing a comedy, a rom-com, a period piece, a drama, a horror film, a documentary, whatever, you got to deliver an experience. And for me, I put the technical aspects aside when I am just evaluating a film on my own, and I just go, what kind of experience did this movie deliver, or did it fail to deliver? And that's just my own kind of thing on that. So never get too caught up, Duke, in the technical aspects that you forget to just sit back and take in the experience the movie's giving you, or the experience that it's failing to give you. That to me is the main thing, but that's just me. All right. Next up, we got Vengeance, who writes, "Hey, John, did you hear about the supposed screening of The Batman?" Yeah, ignore those. Totally ignore those. It's been described as horror thriller. Personally, that's what I've always wanted. What's your thoughts? My thoughts are this: never, ever, 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 ever believe, unless it's a studio or a director or the actor themselves saying it, never believe about these secret screenings and reports that come out about them. Never believe them. I never do. All right, Kylo Ken writes, "Speaking of who will be the faces of the future of the MCU, I feel like Reed Richards and Professor X will be the main faces of the MCU in the next 5 years. There's absolutely nothing to back that up with, since we don't even have a Reed Richards or a Professor X yet. I think they'll move away from the Avengers team members and more so the Fantastic Four and the X-Men teams. I don't know that I agree with that. I think they're definitely, like, Fantastic Four and X-Men are definitely going to become integral parts of this MCU. And also, don't forget, there have been many X-Men that have been on the Avengers, right? Many X-Men have been on the Avengers. So, at different points. So, I think what you're going to see is that there's still going to be Avengers movies, but those Avengers will incorporate Fantastic Four members or X-Men members or things like that. It's just like the MCU today is a bunch of different franchises. It's the Captain America franchise. It's the Thor franchise. It's the Doctor Strange franchise. It's the Spider-Man franchise. It's the Ant-Man franchise. It's the Captain Marvel franchise. And then they do these Avengers movies where they all kind of come together. The only thing that's going to be different now is that there's other franchises as well. On top of the Captain Marvel franchise and the Wanda franchise and the Loki franchise and the Thor franchise. On top of those, we also now have the Fantastic Four franchise, the X-Men franchise. And I think the Avengers are still going to be used as their pivotal big event things brought in. Now, whether or not I'm right about that, we'll find out soon enough. Maybe I'm not, but that's just the way I think they're kind of going to be doing that. Interesting thought there, Kylo. Thanks for sharing, dude. All right, BB writes, if you know Cantonese, you will most likely also know Mandarin. I'm hearing different people saying different things about this. I don't know what to believe. If you know Cantonese, you will most likely also know Mandarin. However, it does not work the other way around. Currently, Mandarin is the national language of China, but each region has its own language/dialect, including Cantonese, but writing is the same. I never knew that. So the writing in Cantonese and Mandarin are the same? See, this all came from somebody brought up the other day. Somebody asked me the other day, John, there's a lot of Chinese being spoken in Shang-Chi, but what Chinese is it? Is it Mandarin or is it Cantonese? And I'm like, I actually don't know. I don't even know the difference between the two. Are they two totally separate languages? Or are they like France French versus Canadian French, where they're kind of unique, but you could, like, a French person could totally understand a Canadian French person, and a Canadian French person could totally understand a French person, even though there's some differences in the dialect. I just have no idea. And I'm hearing totally different things from people. Give me totally different. So I just don't know. But is it true? Are Cantonese and Mandarin, they have the same writing? Is that true? Anybody in the live chat, do you know that if that's true or not? Are Cantonese and Mandarin actually written the same way? I'm not seeing a lot of people rushing to, to put an answer. I don't know. It's a total big mystery to me. I have no idea. Okay. Let's see here. Let's keep going. Now I'm getting some people saying, yes, the writing is the same. See, how do you have two different languages if they're written the same? I just have no clue. I have no clue. All right, next up, we've got Nothing But the Batman, who writes, John, I know you described the footage from Batman at CinemaCon, but was it like a behind the scenes or actual scenes from the movie? It was both. Plus, did you catch the Batman using any gadgets? Considering we are in year 2 Batman, I don't think he'll have all of his normal gadgets. Well, I don't think I remember seeing like an action sequence where he literally pulls out one of his gadgets. Now, we see, as we did in the original trailer, we see him in his bat cave, and there are certainly gadgets around. I don't recall seeing him actually pulling out a gadget and putting a gadget to use. I might not be remembering correctly, but I don't recall that. So I'm going to say no. But yes, they showed us a combination of actual movie footage combined with behind the scenes stuff. Guys, I'm so excited about the freaking Batman. I am so excited about the Batman. I cannot wait to watch this. All right, let's see. Next up, the Batman writes, let's be honest, John, I know you want to see the Spider-Man movie, but deep down you're more excited for my movie. Oh, no, I am. No, I totally am. I am very excited for the Spider-Man movie. Do not get me wrong. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Spider-Man No Way Home. Very, very much. But if, Walter Hamada and Kevin Feige both called me on a conference call right now and said, hey, John, I don't know why they're talking with their hands, but for this they are. John, we're going to invite you to come down to Hollywood right now. But once you get on Olive Avenue in Burbank there, because the studios are actually in Burbank, not Hollywood. Once you get onto the Olive Avenue there in Burbank, you got to decide about whether you're taking that turn and going over to Alameda and coming to the Disney lot, which is on Alameda, or if you're going to keep going down Olive to the Warner Brothers lot, because today, and only today, do you get to see, we're going to show you, if you come to the Disney lot, We'll show you Spider-Man No Way Home, although I guess that would be the Sony lot, not the Disney lot, whatever. Or you can come on over here to Warner Brothers, and we'll show you the Batman. Which one are you doing? All day, every day, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to go see the Batman. Now, I know there are Marvel fans who are going to get butthurt with me saying that, oh, you hate it. No. I am totally excited about Spider-Man. I really am. I can't wait to watch it. But I am far more intrigued and far more interested in this Batman film. So yes, all day, every day. All day, every day. I will be going to see the Batman. That's what I'll be doing. All right, next up. Nothing But the Batman also writes, John, do you think that Matt Reeves will have a special R-rated version of the Batman released alongside the most likely PG-13 theatrical version? No, I don't. I only ask because of how this Batman film looks to be the darkest yet, and because Batman vs. Superman had one as well. No, and by the way, the Batman vs. Superman one didn't need it. It really didn't. That being said, if Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight didn't need to be rated R, this doesn't need to be rated R. By the way, guys, dark and gritty does not get you an R rating. Dark and gritty does not, you can't be really dark and gritty without a rated R. Yeah, because dark and gritty doesn't get you an R rating. It doesn't. There are 3 things that'll get you an R rating. Okay? And I'll simplify them, but they have wider explanations. Titties, blood, F-bombs. Those are the 3 things that will get you an R rating. And you can even get away with a little bit of all 3 and still have a PG-13. And by titties, I mean any nudity. Guys' junk, girls' ass, whatever. I mean, that kind of stuff. Sex will get you an R rating. Not any sex. You can still get away with some sex in a PG-13. Blood. Dude, I've seen some PG-13 films that get away with ridiculous things just because they don't let blood splatter on the wall. Like, I've seen guys get their heads decapitated, but blood doesn't splatter on the wall. Okay, you're fine, PG-13. And then F-bombs. F-bombs, and you can get away with 1 or 2 F-bombs. But you just can't do too many of the F-bombs. But that's it. Dark and Gritty doesn't get you an R rating. So that's why you had like Batman. Some people thought that The Dark Knight, some people thought The Dark Knight should have been rated R. I disagree. I think it got exactly what, I think it got exactly the rating it should have got. That movie was a PG-13 movie. But it's so dark and gritty. Dark and Gritty doesn't get you R ratings. Titties, blood, F-bombs. And you can get away with a little bit of all those 3 things. So, yeah, no, I don't think they'll be making an R-rated version of the movie because there's no need for it to be R-rated. There's no need for it to be R-rated. All right, next up. Let's see. Dangerous D writes, "Hey, John, I sent you a question. Is the DCEU cursed? And you said no. I told samples of movies that failed, Wonder Woman 84, The Suicide Squad. You said Aquaman and Joker made billions, but those were few. The list of disappointing films outnumber the good. What should DC do to copy Marvel's success? There's no such thing. Like, here's the thing. Look, everybody wants to oversimplify everything and make it about formula. Oh, you know how DC becomes as successful as Marvel? Just follow the pattern. Just follow the formula. Individual film, then a team up film. If you do that, then everything will be successful. No, it's not about formula. There's no fucking formula. All it is make good movies. That's it. Make good movies. Make movies that the audience and the critics and with enjoy. You do that, you will have success in the long run. Now, you can say, well, the Suicide Squad was great. Yeah, but listen, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances going on around the Suicide Squad right now, from the pandemic to the ultimate betrayal by Warner Brothers, stabbing it in the back and putting it on HBO Max the same day, all that kind of stuff. So set that aside. Just make good movies. You don't need to follow this formula or that formula. It's not about formulas. It's not about formulas. Look, Star Wars did not need a solo Luke Skywalker movie, a solo Han Solo movie, a solo Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, a solo Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader movie, a solo Princess Leia movie, and then once you did all those solo movies, then bring them together for Star Wars. They didn't need to do that formula. They just made Star Wars, and it was great. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't need a solo Peter Quill movie, followed by a solo Gamora movie, followed by a solo Drax movie, followed by a solo Groot movie, followed by a solo Rocket Raccoon movie. And then once you had all those solo movies, then you bring them together for Guardians of the Galaxy. No, there's no formula. They just made a great movie. They just made a great movie. I keep chuckling and I keep hearing fandom saying, well, the problem with DC was that they tried to do the team-up movie too soon. Fuck that. That had nothing to fucking do with it. That had nothing to do with it. If the movie was great, and I liked it, by the way, personally, I really like Batman versus Superman. I know not everybody does, and that's fine. I personally like it. But if they had made a movie that was great, that had won over the audiences and the fans, it didn't fucking matter that they had Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman in the same movie. Well, that's the reason it didn't succeed. No, fuck that. It had nothing to do with it. Anybody who tells you otherwise, just don't listen to them. Just don't listen to them. Just make a great movie. That sounds simple, but it's not. It's incredibly hard, and it's incredibly difficult. The way DC is going to catch up with Marvel in terms of overall cinematic success, because I think even my most diehard of DC fandom brothers and sisters will agree that DC is behind Marvel as far as cinematic success goes right now. I think you can acknowledge that. The way DC catches up and maybe even surpasses them is consistently crank out quality content that the majority of the audiences and the critics enjoy and love. And if you create a consistent thing of that, you're going to find success. Because other than Iron Man 2 and like Thor the Dark World, out of their 25 plus projects, some are better than others, but Marvel just continues to put out stuff that the fans and the audiences really embrace and love. Maybe you don't embrace them and love them, and that's fine, but you can't deny that the majority of the audiences and the critics have embraced and loved those films. And once DC gets more into that consistent basis, you're going to see them have a lot more success. But it's not about formula. It's not about formula. This is about making great movies. That's it. Because I'll tell you this. I believe, remember there was that one, they were going to do a Justice League movie before anything else. They were going to make a Justice League movie, and that got scrapped. But the DCEU's first movie could have been a full-blown Justice League movie. I personally think that's how they should have started. I personally believe they should have started right out of the gate with a full-blown Justice League movie, gone completely the opposite of Marvel, and then branched out their individual characters from there. I thought that's how they should have done it, because it's not about formula. But anyway, that's I could go on that all day. Sorry. Thanks for writing that in, Dangerous D. Appreciate that, dude. All right, Jamie writes, "Hey, John and crew. Greetings from Ireland. I got one or two recommendations that are a must-watch. The Invisible Guest and The Occupant, which are both Spanish films, and two shows, Good Morning Veronica and The Innocent. John, you won't be disappointed." I have never heard of any of these things before. I've never heard of any of them. If they're Spanish, I don't know where to watch them. So if you wouldn't mind, Jamie, fire me off an email at john@thejohncampeashow.com and tell me where those can even be watched. I've never heard of them. Are they subtitled? Are they not? Again, I'm not going to lie to you and pretend I'm going to jump right on them, because there are other things I need to watch. But at least let me know where they can be found if I am ever interested. I would appreciate that. Thanks for putting that on the radar, Jamie. All right. Anonymous writes, "Gosh, John, have you or your compatriots seen the new series on Hulu, Only Murders in Our Building, starring Steve Martin, Selena Gomez, and Martin Short? Steve Martin is co-writing the series. It's high-level entertainment. Can't recommend it enough. I have not watched it yet, but I am absolutely going to be watching it. Like I said on the show yesterday, you put 2/3 of the Three Amigos in anything, I will watch it, particularly good Canadian kid Martin Short from my own hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I will absolutely be there for that. I think the commercials for it have looked fantastic. I'm just waiting for when Anne, this is one that I want to watch with Anne. So I'm just waiting right now for when Anne and I can sit down and watch it together. So, but yes, damn yes. I'm going to be watching this thing. Hell yes, I'm going to be watching this thing. All right, next up, we only got time for a couple more here, guys. Tim Platt writes, "Thanks for telling me to stick with Parks and Recreation. I remember that because you watched the first season. You were just getting into the first season and you weren't loving it. And I had mentioned to you, if I'm remembering correctly, I had mentioned to you that I never saw season 1 until I was already done like season 4. Like I jumped on board Parks and Rec in season 2 and I just fell in love with it. And it was later that I went back to watch season 1, and season 1 was a very different show. It's like they were just figuring out their identity, and that's unfortunate, but I got lucky that I jumped on board on Parks and Rec with season 1. So I remember telling you to stick with it. Anyway, thanks for telling me to stick with Parks and Recreation, as it is literally one of the best things ever made. I just started watching another Campea special, and I'm somehow loving this new one even more. Okay, see you. Okay, yeah, that you also got to watch. So you got to watch Parks and Rec. You got to watch Schitt's Creek. You got to watch Kim's Convenience. These ones, but I'm glad you stuck with it, Tim, and I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. All right. Welcome to the John Campea Show, rated PG-13 writes, "Hey, John, do you think they will now change the name of the movie to Venom Let There Be Carnage to Venom Let There Be Carnage, but not too much carnage?" Of course, this comes from yesterday's show, where the topic came up that they've announced, unsurprisingly, that Venom Let There Be Carnage will be PG-13, which is what the comics have always been anyway. Again, it's not an issue. You can get away with a lot in these movies and be PG-13. And I think they're going to make it great. I trust Andy Serkis. I think this movie's going to be fantastic. I love the first one. Not everybody did. I know that. I know that I liked Venom more than most people did. Okay, I acknowledge that. But I had a damn good time with that movie. I'm so impressed with the success it had. Made over $800 million to the box office. I think this one's going to be even better, so I'm excited for it. All right. Next up, we've got Jack Lumbers, who writes, have you watched CM Punk's debut in AEW? I have not, but I heard about it. On AEW's YouTube channel, it's the loudest I've heard a crowd since the Raw after WrestleMania 33, where Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker, and the crowd boo/cuss at the Tribal Chief Reigns for 8 straight minutes. No, I heard all about it, though. I heard all about that. CM Punk was back. My buddy Ryan watched it, and he said, yeah, it was one of the biggest pops he's heard in a long time from an audience. So I will probably jump online and go and look at the clip because I like CM Punk. I've met CM Punk a couple of times. The first time I met CM Punk was at one of the Disney premieres. I was at one of the movie premieres, and me and Ann, who's a big wrestling fan, got into the elevator, and we realized we were in the elevator with CM Punk. It's like, oh my gosh, CM Punk. And then we ended up sitting beside each other in the premiere. And then later at a Comic-Con a couple of years ago, we were outside having breakfast at an outside patio in San Diego. And who comes down and sits down at the table beside us was CM Punk. He's just sitting there reading a newspaper. And I don't like to disturb, when I see celebrities at these things, I don't like to disturb them from their day, but we were at Comic-Con. So I decided to walk on over and say, hey, I don't know if you remember, we were at this one thing together. Anyway, I just want to come over, say hi, champ, all that kind of stuff. Really nice guy, put his news, hey, thanks for coming over and saying hi, man. Really appreciate that. It was really, really cool interaction. So I like that dude a lot. I was hoping he would have some success in MMA, but he did not have any success in MMA. But I'm glad he's back home and doing professional wrestling again. And I heard the pop was really, really good. Anyway, next up here, we've got Robert Charles Mitchell writes, holy crap, I just saw Marvel What If Episode 4, and it was a masterpiece. I don't know if it was a masterpiece, but it was really good. The first 2 episodes of the series were pretty childish. I don't know if they were childish. I just thought they took a very simple approach. That's all. But episodes 3 and 4, especially 4, are much darker, cinematic, mature, and very entertaining. I wish I saw it on the big screen. Yeah, I think, honestly, other than the fact that I like episode 3 a little bit more than episode 4, like a little bit more than episode 4, this has been getting better and better. Episode 2 was definitely better than episode 1. Episode 3 was better than episode 2. And episode 4 is close to being on par with episode 3 for me. A lot of people prefer episode 4. That's awesome. But I think they're both great. Episodes 3 and 4 are both great. It's becoming very entertaining. And I was pretty pessimistic about it after the first episode. I'm like, really? This is what If is going to be? But it's been getting better and better. And yeah, episode 4 was really, really good. All right. Last question of the day, guys, comes us from Tyler Hoffman. And Tyler Hoffman writes, one of 2. Hey, John, I've been catching up on some movies I missed over the past few years. One that caught my attention was La La Land. I recently watched it, and it was my favorite movie of all time. The music, the cinematography, the color grading, the performances. By the way, the color in that movie is amazing. From Gosling and Stone and Chazelle's directing were amazing. I know Hacksaw Ridge was your favorite movie of 2016. I'm not totally sure if that's true, but it's definitely one of my favorite films of 2016. But what are your thoughts on La La Land? Do you think it's the best musical ever made? No. What other movies from 2016 do you recommend? Well, listen, you are in company with Scott Mantz, because I think La La Land, Scott might have to correct me on this, but I think La La Land might be Scott's all-time favorite movie. It might be his all-time favorite movie. But unlike Scott Mantz, I'm not a movie dates guy. I could not tell you for the life of me right now what movies came out in 2016. I don't know. That's 5 years ago. I have no idea which movies came out. I would have to literally pull up a list and start looking through the movies. So I can't tell you. So let's just talk about La La Land. La La Land is fantastic. It's totally not a movie that looks like it's for me, but it is a breathtaking cinematic achievement. It's really, really wonderful. And the performances by Emma Stone, who won an Academy Award for it, well deserved. The performances by Ryan Gosling, good Canadian kid, by the way, Ryan Gosling. The music, the emotion of it, the experience of it. It's fantastic. It's really, really wonderful. Now, I had no complaints that Moonlight won Best Picture that year. Moonlight is an astonishing movie, but La La Land is great. Greatest musical of all time? No, I wouldn't say that. But is it an absolutely incredible movie? I'll absolutely agree with you that it is. It's an incredible, wonderful film. If you haven't seen La La Land because you think it just doesn't look like it's a movie that's for you, I totally get that. But do yourself a favor and give it a shot. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. It's a really, really great movie. Anyway, guys, there are still more questions to come from Kurt, Greg, Johnny, and others. Do not worry. I will try to do a companion video a little bit later today, although I have Shang-Chi a bit later, so it might be later, might not be, whatever. There will be a companion video coming, and we will get all caught up on the rest of the questions yet to come, although we only got about 3 pages left to go, so we're almost all caught up as it is. But anyway, we'll have a companion video to get caught up. Guys, thank you so much for being here and making this show a part of your day. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in these live comments and questions and the super chat badges. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys very, very much for your support. Don't forget, on tomorrow's John Campea Show, we're going to have a full house. It's going to be me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and Aaron Cummings will be here. So everybody's going to be in the house. Hopefully you guys will be here to join us as well. But in the meantime, guys, have fun going to see Shang-Chi tonight. I know I'm going to have a good time. I hope you guys do too. Remember to do the 4 main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. Until next time, guys, my name's John Campea. Bye-bye.